What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be comparing 4 aftermarket triggers for Glocks. Now, for everyday carry, I will carry with aftermarket triggers, but they have to be specific brands, and they have to be quality and well tested. And well tested means to me, 500 rounds put through that aftermarket trigger in that setup, in that configuration, with the hollow points that I plan on using. That's how I deem it reliable and carry worthy. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, subscribe, hit the super thanks button if you're getting anything from these videos. Support the channel. It means a lot to me. Let's get into it. All these firearms are cleared and safety checked. They always are prior to the videos, but we'll do it again anyways because you know how they are. And sorry about my racking ability. My finger is really messed up. I injured it. On top of that, burned it and cut it pretty bad. So it is what it is. But in front of us, we have the Apex trigger, the Timney Alpha trigger, the Wheaton Arms trigger, and right here is the, the OEM, but aftermarket Glock performance trigger. Now actually, sorry guys, I do have one more trigger that we can throw on here as well. The Johnny Glock's trigger. This is clear as well. So we actually have 5 triggers to compare. Sorry about that, I forgot. So this is the OEM. It's still OEM because it's made by Glock, but it's their aftermarket trigger. It does not come stock on their triggers. It's only for the Gen 5s. But let's take a look at it real quick, right? It's flat-faced. I like the shape of it. It feels really good in the hand. It just feels really natural, and that's what I like about it. It is my favorite trigger for everyday carry. I just wish they made it for the Gen 3s so I could put it on my main Gen 3 everyday carry Glock 26. Let's take a look at it real quick. Here's first trigger pull. Super crisp, super clean, and just lighter than your average Glock trigger. Reset. One more. Super nice trigger, super nice feel. And by feel, I mean this. The way it feels on your finger is so natural and nice and good. It just is so smooth. I absolutely love it. That is the performance trigger from Glock. It is made by Glock, but it's aftermarket. Next up, we're going to do the Timney Alpha trigger because the Timney Alpha trigger uses the same system as the Glock performance trigger. Let's take a look at this. Now, right now, the spring I have in it is for everyday carry. There's another spring that is competition that it comes with. So the competition trigger is obviously lighter, but this is the everyday carry spring that is in there. Ready? I mean, it is a beast of a trigger. Reset. And that reset's going to be longer with the everyday carry spring in there, but so crisp, so clean, and beyond light. That first trigger pull is just, I mean, it's a beast. It's very hard to beat, but in my opinion, I will not carry this trigger even with the everyday carry spring in there. It is way, way, way too light. Way too light, in my opinion. Next up is the Johnny Glock's trigger. Basically a polished Glock trigger, but let's check it out because I do like this trigger. Ready? First trigger pull. It's about this, a little bit lighter than your average Glock trigger pull. Crisp and clean. Now look at the reset. I mean, the reset is where it's at. Now this being still a decent weight, I would carry this for sure. It is just so short. Look at where that trigger sits. I mean, look at that. It leaves you so much room for a gloved finger. Reset one more time. Such a fast trigger, unbelievable trigger. Johnny Glock makes great triggers. This is one of those triggers I would carry. Absolutely love. Now we're getting into my favorite 2 everyday carry triggers other than the performance trigger. These 2, in my opinion, I wouldn't carry as much simply because I like a little bit heavier, longer triggers for everyday carry because I can still shoot them well, but at the same time, I'm not going to have negligent discharges under stress and panic, right? So right here is an Apex trigger. Everyone knows about Apex triggers, but here we go. I love the shape for one. I love the flat with the curve at the end. A great feeling trigger on the finger. That's huge to me. A lot of people talk about the weight, you know, the reset, all that. I talk about a lot how it feels on my finger, how natural. Where my finger sits with my hand back here, right? Does it feel like a natural trigger? And it does. Here's the Apex trigger. So crisp. I think it's the most crisp trigger out of all these. And then reset. I mean, it's a great everyday carry trigger. I mean, unreal. I would put this on in anything. It is a great aftermarket trigger. So that is your Apex trigger, and on top of that, it looks really cool. Adds a little character to the firearm. And this right here has over 12,000 rounds with this trigger in it. Now, obviously, I changed out the slide because the slide got destroyed, and I changed out the barrel. But this trigger right here has lasted over 12,000 rounds. Last but not least, one of my favorite triggers, the Wheaton Arms trigger. Now, what I really like about this is, one, it does feel really natural. Like I was saying, the reach, the overall reach, where my finger is here to where my hand is here, feels really good. Also, it's so small, it leaves enough room for a glove finger in there as well. Let's get into it. Ready? A little more take up, but so crisp and clean. A little bit of over travel, but it's nothing to worry about. Reset. So short. So I love that. I love the longer first trigger, heavier first trigger pull, and then just a super short reset. It's almost the perfect everyday carry trigger. It really is. Look at that. Beautiful trigger. So, if I had to list these in order of my favorite triggers, I'm going to go Glock Performance trigger, number 1. Number 2, Apex trigger. Number 3, Wheaton Arms trigger. Number 4, Johnny Glock's trigger. Number 5, Timney Alpha trigger. Now, if it was simply for speed or competition shooting, I would go in a different order. I would go Timney Alpha trigger. Then I would go Johnny Glock's trigger. Then I would go Performance trigger. Then I would go Wheaton Arms trigger. And then I would go Apex trigger. But once again, guys, remember, there's nothing wrong with stock Glock triggers. There's absolutely nothing wrong. For instance, on my main everyday carry trigger, it's all stock except the connector. This is clear as well. But all it did is make it a little cleaner, crisper, and clean, and made that reset shorter. I even over traveled on that reset. So that is how I like my carry triggers, right? Very clean, very crisp, very audible. So that's what I carry with. But like I said, aftermarket triggers, I have no issue with. I have no problem with. The thing about the Performance trigger, it leaves very little room for a glove finger, whereas stuff like the Wheaton Arms trigger leaves a ton of room, as well as the Johnny Glock's trigger leaves a lot of room as well, which I really like. And if you're wondering what kind of pistol this is a Glock 26L with the one-piece upper. So it's a Glock 19 size barrel, uses a 26 guide rod. It's similar to like a Glock 43X and 48 to a 26 and a 19. Basically a 19 upper with a 26 guide rod on a 26 lower. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.